Welcome to High Five Live this morning to the Gathering Series. This is Angelle.
And this is Scott. and we're excited to be with you today.
Especially since we have the Schroedters with us, and we're thrilled to have you get to know this amazing, consecrated, remarkable couple.
They're tuning in from Vienna.
Yeah, they're in Vienna at the Institute right now.
Oh, and as you get on, we would love to see where you are joining us from all over the world. So,
because wherever it is, they're probably working with somebody from your country.
That's right.
They have had the most international assignment. It's been amazing.
So thanks for being with us, Rick and Michelle. We are excited to just chat.
Let's tell you a little about them.
Yeah, so these two are just, like Scott said, an incredibly consecrated couple. In fact, they chose the title for today's session, Lord, I Would Follow Thee. And that's what they have done their entire lives. It's interesting. We have a lot of connections with these two.
Lots. Every time we turn around, there's something else.
Yeah, Rick was born in California and Michelle in Roosevelt, Utah. Yes. And he went to Bingham High, where a lot of our children attended.
And I taught
high
there.
school.
And yes.
Yeah, so that's kind of fun. They are parents to 6 children and 11 grandchildren with 1 on the way, right?
Correct.
Not born yet, almost. Okay. They have lived in so many places. They lived in Katy, Texas, Southern Indiana 2 times, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Singapore.
And now they're going to tell us why they are broadcasting from Vienna, how they got their mission call, and those kind of things. They are just, and we'll learn more about them as we go along, but please feel free to read their bio on High Five Live and learn more about this amazing couple.
It's so extensive. If we read the whole thing, it would take all our time. So we're giving you a little tiny synopsis.
A little synopsis of it. So yeah, let's start with...
tell us about your family.
Yeah, tell us about your family a little bit, and then how you met, and how you got this
mission
call.
Okay, well, we met. I have 7 brothers, and 5 of those brothers served in Japan on missions. So my second brother, Rick, and Greg, were in the same MTC group. They were never companions, but later at BYU, after the mission, they were roommates. So I would go visit Greg, and I met Rick, and
the rest of the story is obvious.
It took a couple of years, but we got married.
Yeah, we married. We have 6 children, 2 girls and 4 boys. Our oldest lives in London with 3 children. Sadly, about 6 years ago, we lost our second child, Garrett, from a hiking accident at Sundial Peak in Big Cottonwood Canyon.
We remember hearing about that so much.
Yeah, we miss him, and he has a young daughter that lives in Provo with her mother. And then we have a daughter that lives in Oregon with 5 children, a son that lives in Boise with 1 little guy, and then that's who's expecting in January. We have a son that lives in Minnesota with 1 little girl, and then we have a 20-year-old that's doing online school, living in Orem.
Great. And they're a beautiful family. Look them up on Facebook.
Yeah, the picture's amazing.
Yes.
And so you decided after this amazing career and all that you'd done at ExxonMobil and everywhere else, you were about ready to go on a mission. And
what's that like to put your papers in?
A little scary.
Yeah, it was scary. We had retired. We were preparing to sell our house because none of our children came back to Texas. As you can tell, they're scattered, which is probably the way they followed, the way we moved around a lot. And so we put our papers in. It took 2 or 3 months. We were wondering if something was wrong. And then, of course, when you select as a senior, you can select any location, or if you do select location, they want 4. And so we were just going to put 2 in, but anyways, we filled all 4 in. Selfishly, we contacted the London mission president, and both he and the stake president had a ward that they were ready to put us in, the MLS, Member Leader Support. And so we thought that was 90% good. We talked to the mission president. We put that as our first choice. And then we put Tokyo, since I remained fluent in Japanese from my mission. I worked with Mitsubishi Chemical and et cetera. So I can still read, write, speak it fluently. So we thought, well, okay, we'll do MLS there, second choice. We put Hawaii because it's a beautiful place.
It's Hawaii.
Why not?
All these selfish reasons. And then we put Boise, Idaho because we have a bunch of grandkids in that area and there was MLS need. So we thought, okay, just need to get confirmation that, London's going to be it. And so when Czech Slovak mission, speaking English, working with Self-Reliance came, we were
Shocked.
We were surprised.
Where's Czech?
Exactly. Two
Yeah,
countries?
we didn't even know they had split the country by name. We always knew of Czechoslovakia.
Yeah.
But the languages are a little bit different. So and the countries obviously are different. So we got excited and we did a little bit of language. We decided we would try to learn a language. We had a wonderful MTC teacher. She served in Sweden, but she coordinated speakers when we would get on one hour a week or so
Before the
for the MTC. And we had a wonderful week in the MTC. We met with other couples and some senior sisters that were going to Self-Reliance, to New York, to Omaha, to Dominican Republic,
in England.
And of course we went to the Czechoslovak mission. But we absolutely loved it. We spent 6 months there. So as you kind of heard from their comments, we didn't stay there. We traveled around the country. We were not able to go to Slovakia because of COVID, but we were able to travel around to different branches and wards. And we did a lot of financial, personal management, and tried to get some awareness to the Self-Reliance classes in the wards and branches, about 5 or 6
You're so wonderful.
So important.
So we were actually, the weekend before the war started, we were also teaching Self-Reliance classes at a school for YSAs called Komori Academy that Patrick Shadevi and his wife had started. They both served missions in the Czech Republic. He was a convert from Canada. His parents had come from the Czech Republic, and he joined in Canada. Anyway, he was some of the first missionaries back in the 90s to come to Czech Republic. They met each other there, but they had quite a story, and they wanted to give back as they had successful careers, and so they started this campus, and we were privileged to teach there. In fact, on that Thursday, we went with
The morning the war broke out.
the morning the war broke out. We came to the campus, and they had a big bus arranged to go up to Freiburg, Germany.
To the temple.
And a lot of the Ukrainians, there were about 20 there that semester, were very sullen and sad and crying. But we went ahead to the temple, and if you want, you can look on, I think on some of my my mission blog, have them singing their national song.
Very touching.
It was touching.
So touching.
On the bus, yeah.
On the bus. And then when we spoke, so we left them, and then next Sunday we spoke in a city called Olomouc, and we got a call, would we be willing to go help with the refugees in Poland? Of course we would go. And so a couple of days later, we packed up and drove only about 5 hours to Krakow. And we served there for almost 6 weeks and had so many miraculous experiences. I don't have time to share them all.
If you would like to, I'll just interrupt here for a second and see if you would like to hear Rick talk about those along with Rob Sturgill and Solomon Smith. We interviewed them on High Five Live back in March 25th, and you can look that up and watch it on High Five Live. It was amazing. I can't even describe what they were saying. And like he said, we don't have time here to go into it, but you can watch that.
Well, tell us at least an experience or two, Rick.
Yeah.
That would be great.
With 3.5 million refugees in Poland from Ukraine and other places, I imagine, there's such a need. So what was it like for you to serve there for 6 weeks?
Well, it is something that we grew into. When we talk about that phrase, Lord, from the song, I would follow thee. we really didn't know what we were to do. At first we heard, well, maybe you'll work with the NGOs, who the church would work with, where, and then they said, no, the humanitarian group will do that. We just want you to help rescue members and non-members, whomever you can help through the Krakow. And ironic, maybe it's because it was closer, the way the borders are from Lviv and whatnot out of Ukraine, but a lot more Ukrainians came through Krakow than Warsaw, which is a bigger city. And Krakow is kind of a college town. But anyways, we would get calls from the Relief Society president or the country coordinator who was in that branch. We heard this family coming in, this family coming in. Probably, I think I've documented it, so some of them are out there on Facebook. But for us, probably the first weekend, we had just so many, like 2 or 3 miracles a day. But there was just a quick tie back to South Jordan. There was a young girl that had written a pen pal in Kiev, and the pen pal girl in Kiev went to her school teacher and, could you help me translate this? And this is also out there. There's so Sister Gulko translated this girl from South Jordan.
She wasn't sister then.
Yeah, but this Joseph Smith history pamphlet, and so she translated it. She became interested. Anyway, she and her husband, the first Saturday night, we probably got 1 hour sleep, but we picked them up at the border.
And their friend.
Larissa, and it was a tough night for them. Back then it was freezing cold. She has Parkinson.
They were in line in the night over 5 hours just trying to get through the border. And so, it's cold, and they're older, and yeah.
So we were able to, we drove down near the border. And I don't know, who knows if we drove into Ukraine or not, but they had a lot of checkposts, but we were able to hear her wonderful story. We've kept in touch with her on Facebook. She has some miraculous stories. If you want to look her up, you could probably find her. There's some church history. She translated the Doctrine and Covenants, the Book of Mormon, into Ukrainian. And a week or so later, we talked about the surprise of going to the Czech Slovak mission. It was clear to me by the Spirit that one of my life's mission, our mission together, was to get that dear sister and her husband and her friend at the border and bring them into Krakow. The Relief Society president, they regrouped, and then we took them to the airport and they went to visit. And they're still with some friends in Germany. So that, I could tell 30, 40 more stories, but that one was very tender to us, and I knew exactly why we were supposed to go to Czech Slovak mission, just from that experience alone.
So if you want to look at some more stories, read some more stories, you can go to Type of Wood Charities Inc. on Facebook. And some of these stories are being shared over and over, and you'll see pictures, and you'll be directed to articles that people have written that are actually there serving. And I think, honestly, it is just incredible to me that people just leave their lives somewhere else, volunteer to go over and rescue, because it's such a horrible situation right now. And so we are so appreciative of all those. And if you want to get involved, there's actually on that Facebook page an article that's in Meridian Magazine. You can just click on it. It has 5 ways that you can get involved yourself to help those that are so in need from Ukraine.
And just think the church's commitment to grab missionaries from around the area and say,
Go
to Poland and save Heavenly Father's children.
Oh, so thank you for being willing to do that.
It is really our privilege to do that.
Yeah, and I'll share you another Ukrainian story real quick. Last night, so a lot of the missionaries that had been in Ukraine that were pulled into Germany, and some came back into Poland to help. They put out, it's now been 4 or 5 months, would any Ukrainians like to learn German? Because many of them are starting to settle. They don't know when they're going to go back. And the second week, I'll put some pictures up, but there were over 110
people here last night to learn
German.
from from these Russian elders?
So they only had 5 or 6 years of Russian, 5 or 6 months. They're learning German, but they had a very attentive crowd, and there was a native German speaker in this room, and this was the advanced room. There's a bunch of words on the board. But so I sent out a note today to our stake asking, if there's some way we could help, and hopefully the mission president will leave these young elders that can both do German and Ukrainian Russian, because there's such a need now for, like you said, there's 2.5 million. Some are going back, but many are trying to find jobs. And so we're now trying to be a little bit a part of that exercise here in Vienna.
Still, wow.
That is incredible. So moving on, just what are you doing right now, and how did you get there, and what is it like to be serving the YSAs?
Well, we were home for about 2 weeks from Poland, and we get a phone call. We worked with an elder and sister Foot. They were there for about 4 weeks in Poland with us. We'd met them once before, and they're over the YSA for Europe. And so the couple that was working here with them and at Camorra was leaving. So they call and say, what do you think? Do you want to still teach at Camorra and move to Vienna? And we said, okay.
So they went to the area presidency. The area presidency approved it, and so we transferred missions.
So our third mission.
But they have a large YSA group. The last few days, we actually sent 150 emails. They have about 40 or 50 active
participate
here in the city. It's a college town, so there's a lot of YSAs. And then as we continue to go back to Camorra Academy, and we teach institute there and do the self-reliance classes 3 days a week. It's about a 3-hour drive.
3.5 hours.
It's not too far. So,
not that bad.
And last semester in the spring, the area presidency had asked the owners of Camorra Academy, because it had been a refugee, they converted it to a refugee center. There was about 40, 50 refugees, maybe more than that, up to 100 we heard.
Living there.
And so then they moved it back to a teaching, the leadership and principles that they teach there, spiritual principles. It's just wonderful. A lot of them are learning how to run businesses, how to manage their lives. And some of them actually met other YSAs and had a couple of marriages. But so this last semester, we had around 20 Ukrainians. Some had stayed over a second semester. And there were about 10 that were not members, but were very interested, and a lot of positive things from that academy, not just for the Ukrainians, they're youth from Spain, Albania, many countries around Europe. So we really enjoy
a gathering place.
It is a gathering place.
It's a gathering place, and the concept is to try to have those youth stay in Europe, and build businesses. So,
yeah, didn't Elder Perry have some inspiration, like in 2003, to make these
young adult
centers? Yeah, and look at it now. Look at the good this one is doing.
It is recognized as one of the community centers here, I think, in Europe.
Oh, that's so great.
So, what things have you learned in the midst of this remarkable experience you've had? And what would you like to share with us in closing about your feelings about this privilege you've had to serve?
I've learned to rely more on the Lord. Not me, Rick, of course, but more turn to the Lord than, especially in Poland when we didn't know what, we had to definitely just start with prayers and just say, hey, lead us to wherever you want us to go and whoever we can help. That was special and a learning for me. So
it sounds like from everything you've said about that, Michele, that you really felt very specifically directed constantly while you were there.
Yes, we did. Yeah. We'd start and end with a prayer. We'd be praying all the time, just saying, help us find so-and-so, or what do we need to do for them and stuff. So yeah, we felt very close to the Spirit while we were helping.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For, as you mentioned, our background, we had lived with my mission and serving in Singapore. We came to really love it, Asia, and this experience has really helped me learn to love Europe. And I have obviously some ancestry from that Europe, but just to realize how much the Lord loves all his children. And we know he tries to help. Of course, sometimes we inflict harm on each other, like wars and things, but for the many plights and those who are trying to get out, it's just such a privilege to serve them. I know that during that time, President Uchtdorf shared, a picture of himself on Facebook and what he was going through. And I could totally feel that when I see some of the children, both young boys and young women, who are having their hearts torn, right? Fathers killed or left back in Ukraine, wanting them to be safe. And hopefully by sharing our love, the love of the Lord, that they have felt comforted. We feel the miracle has happened many times. So it's just a privilege to serve. We probably won't, if we go again, which we think we will, we probably won't put the 4 locations because it didn't matter.
Didn't matter.
The Lord sent you where you needed to be.
Exactly. So we learned that. And sometimes people get their matches made and they go where they had asked, and that's wonderful. But we know that the Lord loves his children, and if we can be a part of blessing any of them, it's a privilege and an honor to do so.
I've taught Institute for over 40 years, and in the midst of doing that, I remember very clearly when President Hinckley came out with a very specific invitation. He said, "I'm inviting all of you to the rescue." He talked about the rescue of the handcart pioneers, and then he came and said, "Today we have young adults that are in great need, and I'm asking you to be a part of the rescue." And you have absolutely been just like those handcart pioneer people that went back to help save them. The needs are as great, and your service is amazing. And we're so thankful for your amazing example, because rescuing Heavenly Father's children is really what this is all about.
Gathering and rescuing. Thank you so much for all you're doing. And thanks for being with us. This is such a miracle, Vienna.
Exactly.
And it worked, and it all came together.
Thank you so much for having us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, and have a wonderful, let's see, is it evening there?
Yes.
Almost
Sitting there?
6:30.
Okay.
6:30.
To all our friends around the world that have tuned in, please just share this inspiring message, and these dedicated, wonderful servants will help each of us recommit to greater consecration in our lives. We thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.